Hello everybody. I thought that would be a good idea after the last video where I showed when I flipped through the records at the thrift store Erikshjälpen, that it would be a good idea to do a vinyl and CD update on top of that. I showed a little hasty what I bought 2 days ago at the Erikshjälpen, but I thought I was going to show a little bit closer of what I found, and also other stuff that I've been finding recently. So I have gotten together a pretty okay stack, including a lot of 78s that I bought during the summer that I forgot to show. So there will be some 78s today for once. It's not often I can do that. But start, as usual, with vinyl singles. We have Swedish comedian Povel Ramel, that I am not a huge fan of, but I have a huge respect for him, and he has done some great stuff. This is one of the actually best songs in my opinion. Var är tvålen? Where is the soap? Var är tvålen, broder? Ge mig tvålen, broder. Var? And it's a nice, really catchy song. Uniform at the B-side. We have the previous vinyl CD update that I did before the 10-cent stuff that I showed. Those stuff is of course not here, but I've already shown the 10-cent stuff. But the video before that, the vinyl CD update before that, I showed this one. Belgian whistler, guitar player, harmonica player Toots Thielemans. And this EP Whistle While You Work. Show that then. And in the same series I managed to find also this one. This is together with this is actually a Belgian, Swedish, Danish and American collaboration, because we also have besides Thielemans, Knut JorgenS piano, we have Jimmy Wood bass and Sture Karlin drums from Sweden. And the tune is Hi Ho, which is the Snow White song. Hi ho. Summertime, podium bass. Fjärren vingar syns på Haga, which is a ballad, Swedish old ballad of Carl Michael Bellman. And Dulaney's Dilemma. And we have some Ella Fitzgerald. Night and Day, Begin, I Love Paris, and You Do Something to Me. Ella Fitzgerald sings the Cole Porter songbook. We have the rest of the singles is jazz. This is looked interesting. Nils Lindberg, pianist I actually never heard of. Jazz in TV Time. This is some kind of a television band, and even though I never heard of the leader of the jazz orchestra, there are some familiar Swedish names overall. Åke Persson trombone, plays also a lot with the American musicians during his time. Mafwak Falay, also known as Mafi Falay, a Turkian-born trumpet player, and this sounded really great from the quick peeks that I listened to. Released on Columbia. We have released on Metronome, Jackie McLean Quintet. We have here Lorraine by Donald Byrd, and we have Ending, Jackie McLean original. We have Zoot Sims and Joe Newman Quintet. We have Mambo for Joe, O'Shea, Wolafont, Lament and Suzette on sonnet. Really nice jazz findings. And we also have an all-star quintet with Dizzy Gillespie, which also which also on all contains Charlie Parker. Well, in the last final song, for some reason they have taken all Charlie Parker's any all-star without Dizzy Gillespie. Why they not just took all with by the same leader, I don't know. But Dizzy Gillespie All-Star Quintet with Salt Peanuts. We have Dizzy Gillespie and his All-Stars featuring Sarah Vaughan with Loverman. Dizzy Gillespie's All-Star Quintet with Shawnuff, and Charlie Parker is on all those. And Charlie Parker All-Stars with Stupendous. Now, interesting ones. 78s. Not often I find these much 78s actually. Harry James and his orchestra. Couple of 78s. Blues in the Night and Crazy Rhythm. A little bit doubtful to buy Harry James on 78s normally, because you never know what you're going to get, because he also turned into some almost easy listening music during the late 50s, and I hope I don't get any kind of stuff with that. But this looks definitely like genuine jazz, as it says, the 1945 Super Rhythm Style series on Parlophone. Really nice series. And we have a song that is a classic to me, nostalgia, jazz nostalgia, because I listened to, I recorded this one on Swedish radio when I was a kid, actually, in the 50s version. There are two versions. They are the 40s version, and he re-recorded it in the 50s. And the one I heard back in 1987, when I recorded it on a cassette from Swedish radio, I think that was during my first year as a jazz fan. That was the 50s version. This is from 1932, but it's also really good. It's good to have it on 78 actually. Trumpet, Blues and Cantabile, a really nice and catchy tune with a lot of blowing in the horns. And we have also Concerto for Trumpet. Duke Ellington and his orchestra, Fancy Dan and the Hawk Talks. And we have Dizzy Gillespie and his orchestra, vocals by Johnny Hartman, in something called I Should Care, on his master's voice. And Swedish Sweet. And I don't think there are any Swedish musicians in this one. Here is a big band leader that is a little bit forgotten today, and that I learned to love from almost the beginning, and that is Charlie Barnett. And it feels great to find 78 with him also. Charlie Barnett and his orchestra, Over the Rainbow, and with Carlos Vidal on conga and voice, Pan Americana. Then we have two 78s with the same song. We have Teddy Wilson with rhythm accompaniment and Rosetta. And Rosetta is written by Earl Hines, China Boy at the B-side. Yet another 1945 Super Rhythm style series. So we have Rosetta by Earl Hines with Teddy Wilson, and we have Rosetta with Earl Hines himself with rhythm. Did I Do at the B-side. So It's a nice coincidence to find this one. I couldn't resist to buy both of them. We have also Benny Goodman and his quartet. I know that you know, and I cried for you. Nice to show some 78 for once. Going to CDs. We have some Artatum. Unbelievable. A lot of these contains some songs that I have very much of on both vinyl and CDs, but I couldn't leave it behind for $1. This and it is on original American Decca recordings, MCA release that I actually think is pretty good. And there were some songs also that I actually didn't recognize, so it was nice to have it, even though it contains a lot of stuff that I have. We also have Dan Reed Network. Now we're leaving jazz for a moment, and the best of Dan Reed Network, Mix It Up. Some really classic late 80s, early 90s rock. 90s British soul single, Shara Nelson, What Silence Knows. Costed me only 10 cents actually. From 1994. Now, let's go back to jazz. We have Swedish singer Claes Jansson, who actually was one of the first jazz singers that I heard back in 1986. Not with these recordings though, because these are made a lot later. This is actually live recordings, a live album from Jazz Club Fasching, a place that I've actually been in Stockholm, and signed. So Tonight is the title of this album, released on Gazelle, well-known Swedish jazz label. And we have some Bix Beiderbecke, released on a low-budget collection called Deja Vu. I have a of this series with Artatum that is actually good. I showed it pretty recently. I think it was in Rachel Music Moms contest. But it also is a little bit of downfall. It doesn't says when it's made. So I was a little bit doubtful, but it costed me, first of all, it only costed me 10 cents. And second, it says down here which musician it plays with. And it sounds very much like these 1930s, late 20s and early 30s dancing orchestra style that I actually like a bit. So I actually thought it was great to have it. And I do like Bix Beiderbecke also. And well, we added with these early jazz orchestras that I actually like. This is an album that I took a chance on, but I didn't think it delivered as I was hoping. Happy Days Are Here Again. This is a compilation of hits of the 30s. Jack Hilton, Ray Noble, Ambrose and his orchestra, Jack Payne, and so on. Harry Roy, Geraldo and his orchestra. But I think it sounded more like American entertainment music, almost like almost close to Schlager rather than jazz. So I was a little bit disappointed with this one, so this will most likely not stay in the collection. We have, if we step away from jazz for a bit until we get to the findings from 2 days ago, let's go to some soul. Rick James, Stone City Band, and Come Get It from 78. Listen to some quick peeks of it, and it sounds actually really funky, really good. So this is going to be very interesting. We also have a Four Tops from 1972, Keeper of the Castle. This is actually my only second Four Tops album. but I'm learning. I'm learning. We have released on something called Probe. And I also found 2 James Bond soundtracks. Well, you know, as I collect James Bond soundtracks, I managed to find For Your Eyes Only. I listened to this actually only this couple of hours ago, and it's actually a little odd soundtrack to a great movie, no doubt about it. And it is an interesting soundtrack, a great soundtrack. But it's a little bit odd also, because it's a soundtrack that felt like it didn't know where to go. Sometimes it's a little funky, and sometimes it's almost like singer-songwriter instrumental singer-songwriter style, if that makes any sense. And it felt like it didn't know where to go. It didn't sound quite as the James Bond soundtrack usually sounds like, but very, very interesting. And this one I haven't listened to yet, Octopussy, also a great movie, featuring Maud Adams from Sweden. It also contains Christina Wayborn, also from Sweden. So, and now let's show a little bit closer the stuff that I found at Erikshjälpen. First of all, you saw this. This is Swedish group Eldkvarn, one of my favorite bands from Sweden. And yes, this is not an ordinary graffiti. This is signed by all members of the band. I managed to find. So this is, I'm not that huge fan of autographs, but if I find a signed copy, it is always interesting. It's something special, actually. And especially if it is from one of my favorite bands. So this one was very, very interesting to have, especially when it's an album that I don't have, from 2001. Some jazz albums. This is Duke Ellington, On the Air, Duke Ellington and his orchestra. This is a radio recording from both Cotton Club and also from Southland Cafe in Boston. You saw a lot of Duke Ellington albums when I flipped through, but a lot of these contain those ordinary overplayed Ellington songs that once almost led me to not listening to Duke Ellington for almost 20 years, 25 years. Though I like Ellington today a lot more than I have done for the past decades, I still try to avoid Take the A Train, Sea Jam Blues, Satin Doll, Black and Tan Fantasy. Those that I've heard 9 million times, but air checks and live recordings are of course always special. And here the only classic that the only classic we have here is Caravan, A Sophisticated Lady, and those two are some of the best of the classics. So I felt like this one was really great to have. And a couple of Errol Garners. You also saw a lot of Errol Garners in that flipping. Some of those were stuff with songs that I already have a lot of, or it didn't say one bit on when it was recorded or which one he played with. This one was interesting. This is Errol Garner, musician, together with Grady Tate, percussion, Bob Crenshaw, bass, and also Jose Mangual, bongo drum. Doesn't say though when it's recorded. It is released in 1974, but if it is recorded in that year, I have no idea. But it's going to be very interesting. And we have also this one that I was very doubtful about from the beginning. This is a double album set, German release, and it doesn't say one word when it is recorded or with whom, other than Earl Garner. Is it solo? Is it trio? It doesn't say anywhere. And he's released on a big label. I think that I really believe that. I think normally that a big label should give more information on this, but it's a double LP set, and I looked up on it, and it's also some of these songs are longer longer recordings, up to 6-7 minutes, and I don't have, from what I know, any Errol Garner with those long songs actually. So it felt like I most likely don't have a lot of these, so I felt like it's really good to have it. And this one costed me only $1 also, so a double, really nice looking Errol Garner for $1 is a must-have. So that was what I have been finding during the past weeks. As the autumn hasn't started all that bad actually. It started pretty good, which is great since it is no record fair this autumn either, because of you know what. But if I can find records in the thrift stores and at vinylstället, then I guess it's okay. So until next time, I hope that every one of you have a real nice time, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. Take care and so long.